I'm here on a job site with Tim, who owns his own electrical contracting business.
3 employees and 2 work trucks.
Tim traded up to Geico Commercial Auto Insurance. We're positively here where he needs us most.
They sure are.
With step-by-step help on all his insurance needs, all for shockingly low rates.
Shockingly low, huh?
Just a little bit of electrician humour. Do you get it?
I got it.
You know, it feels like we have a real connection. All right, I'll stop.
Get a commercial auto insurance quote today at geico.com and see how much you could save. It feels good to Geico.
You're listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast network.
You are listening to the FinFans podcast, where we discuss everything Miami Dolphins. It's the off season, and we're looking forward to a fresh new start under different management in 2026. We hope you'll join us and enjoy the show. Hey guys, this is Mike again, breaking in for a second just to ask a favor of you. We would like to request that you go to Apple Podcasts and leave us a review and rate the show. Let us know how we're doing. We'd very much appreciate it. Thank you, and fins up. And it's another FinFans podcast. With me today are the Ragones. How are you, Chris?
Doing good, Mike. Doing good.
We're entering a dead time.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna be quiet for a while.
Yeah.
How you doing, Lewis?
Good. Very good. Very good. Very good.
Last week we talked about the offense and the players that we think have a chance of still being here in 2028. And today we're going to do the same thing with the defense. So I'm looking forward to that. But before that, Chris, you wanted to talk about Aaron Brewer and his new deal?
Yeah, so just last week we were actually talking about Brewer and then Jordan Brooks, who we're going to talk about a little bit on the defense on whether they were going to get extensions or not. And the first domino to fall was Aaron Brewer. They extended him for 3 years, $52.5 million contract extension, which includes $37 million guaranteed. The deal runs through the 2029 season, and it's going to secure Brewer as the third highest paid center in NFL by average annual value. So, I mean, that was nice to see. I talked about it a little bit last week, how he's kind of approaching 30. So, you know, I was a little worried about that, especially him being a smaller guy who, you know, relies on more so of his speed and, you know, getting off the ball. But, you know, they like what he brings to the table. They like the type of guy he is in the locker room. So, you know, I'm all for it. You know, I've been saying it all off season. Can't get rid of everybody. You got to keep some vets around to show these younger guys how it's done. And what I really liked was how when they brought him to sign in the contract, his other fellow linemen were right behind him.
Yep, everybody but Austin.
Yeah, exactly. The other 3 guys missing Austin Jackson, but you know, that was cool to see. You know, I'm sure those other guys are super happy for Brew. I mean, I think he deserved it, and he's going to be a focal part of our offensive line going forward for the next couple of years.
Yep.
Why was Austin Jackson not there?
I don't know. I mean, there's no definitive answer on that. I mean, some people were speculating that, you know, he could be rehabbing or something like that.
Oh, okay.
It may also be something bigger than that. You know, maybe he doesn't look at himself as, you know, a long-term guy.
Well, he took a pay cut, and other people are getting extensions and more.
Yeah, that I understand too. Maybe he was, but also it's like, come on, man, that's, you know, that's the type of player that you may not want around for the long haul if they can't celebrate the other. But I get it, because it's an ego thing, you know. It's like you took a pay cut to come back, and they're giving a guy almost $40 million guaranteed. Right. So I don't know. I can't say I wouldn't maybe feel some type of way about it, but the type of teammate I would have been right there celebrating this contract. But,
how many games has Brewer missed over the last couple of years? Not a lot.
Too many.
Not many, if any.
Yeah.
I don't remember a game that he's missed over.
Yeah, no, he's been fairly healthy the whole time.
So Austin Jackson, if he does have any resentment towards that, should, you know, consider the fact that this guy's been on the field game in and game out and playing at a very high level. So there you have that. Yeah, I mean, we did talk about Brewer last week, and me and Mike were talking, I believe, last night about this. Is that all the moves that this organization has made, and the few guys that I felt were important to keep here, and not completely clean house. Acham being one of them, and now Brewer. We've got one more guy on the table, I think, that, we have to bring in on the defensive side when we talk about that. But it's a great move. It solidifies the offensive line now for a couple of more years. I mean, you've got, Patrick Paul under contract for, 1 or 2 more seasons as well?
Yeah.
What is he, going into his 3rd year now?
Yeah, and if he has a good year, he'll definitely be looking for a contract at the end of this year, but he'll still be under contract for next year as well.
Yep. So, and obviously you got Proctor here for a few years. So, I mean, right now, we felt, as we talked about it last week, that, if they decide not to go with Brewer and extend him, you've got a hole there, and it's a big hole at the center position. Now you've got a guy here that's going to be here a couple of years, and you can move on from that. You don't have to worry about drafting a center, at least not yet. So I love it. I love the fact that they did that. If they're going to throw money at guys, these are the 2 guys 110% that I would have backed up in regard to keeping here. So I love it.
He didn't really become a starting player, I believe, until 2022. He played all 17 games for Tennessee. The next year, he went from guard to center, played all 17 games for Tennessee. 24, he played 17 games, and last year he played 16.
So he missed 1 game last year.
1 game out of 4 years.
It's also crazy, too, how I remember when we signed him, I was pretty down on him just based off of the fact that he was literally just a lot like Jonah was last year, in a sense where he was like one of the bottom-rated centers in the whole league, and Tennessee obviously wasn't a very talented team, but, I mean, he's made a lot of strides and, up in his game, and, I'll congratulate him for that. Well,
Chris,
proved me wrong.
He was not the lowest rated, and I don't remember which way it was. It was either run blocking or pass blocking. He had a deficiency in one of those, but he was very good at the other.
Blocking.
It was run blocking, yeah. I mean, so that's where we were with that. Honestly, I can't remember. I mean, Mike, you might be right, but I'm not certain of that. But he wasn't a complete disaster at the center position. He either blocked well passing or blocked well running the football.
Running too, from what I remember, but that's why I was so concerned. I'm like, oh my God, we're bringing this guy to be a center for Tua when he's already had these concussions and all this other, and his pass blocking grade was pretty bad. But like I said, whether it was him upping his game or just him not being surrounded by good guards in Tennessee, he's coming off a 2nd-team All-Pro season, so big ups to him.
Very good.
I was concerned about it too because he's not the most physical center that you're going to find because of his size.
Yeah.
So I was definitely concerned about it, but he's exceeded my expectations. He's still not a power player, but he's been efficient, and last year was a damn good season. So
he was the 3rd best center in football last year.
Yeah,
according to the grades and all that other nonsense. He was 2nd team Pro Bowl, 2nd team All Pro. I mean, that's that puts you basically in the top 3, top 4 centers in the league. He's getting paid as the 3rd best, and perfect. I mean, that's the way it should be, right? You basically get rewarded for, what you do and your work ethic. And obviously this new regime, because they're not obligated to any of these guys, as we've talked about, feel that he's a guy that they definitely wanted to keep around. So, you have to trust in them.
Yeah, and I think that's going to, do a lot going forward for, potential free agents after this season. And trade targets that we may end up targeting that, it's just going to show them if you put in the hard work, if you produce, you're going to be rewarded. It's not like, how many times did we hear with the last regime? Oh, he's earned the right to be a free agent, which was like also them saying, we're not bringing him back type stuff. So,
It was what we call bullshit.
Yeah.
Is that what we call it?
Yeah, bullshit. That's what we heard a lot of from that last regime. Right down the line. Bullshit. Anyway.
In 2022, his pass blocking was actually worse than his run blocking, according to PFF.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
It was 45-4 pass blocking, 65-3 or 63-3 run blocking, and a total grade of 50.9.
What the year before we saw? That was the year before
That was the year before. 2 years before. The next year, he improved overall to 71.6. His run blocking improved to 78.7, and his pass blocking was still deficient, 52.5.
Right. See, I knew there was some. So you had it backwards,
Yeah, we were
I think,
backwards.
Chris.
No, Mike did.
I did, yeah, but I sort
Somebody
of
did.
remembered it, and I guess I remembered it wrong. That's why I checked.
Right. Yep. Okay, that's fine. I mean, but I knew that he was. I mean, because we talked about it. We said that, man, his pass blocking, and yeah, you're right, Chris. You said it, and his run blocking actually was much improved, and that's actually a pretty good grade for a center. So, whatever.
Yeah, last year his run blocking grade was 91.5. That's elite.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, unbelievable, right? Where he's come from.
Yeah.
It's very good.
So good for him. He deserves his money.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yes, he does. We like that.
All right, so let's move over to the defense. All right, so let's start with the edge rushers. We've got on the left side, Chop Robinson, Robert Beal Jr., Max Llewellyn, and Rodney McCraw. And on the right side, Joshua Uche, David Ajobo, Cameron Good, and Seth Coleman.
Yeah, I'll go first. I mean, I'll be honest with you guys. I don't know if any of these guys will be here in 2 years, and that includes Chop Robinson. Talked about it a little bit last week, but, this is a make or break year for him. I know he was a first round pick, but he's going into his third year now.
Yeah.
If he doesn't produce and take a major leap forward, I can see this regime, at the end of the year or maybe even at the trade deadline, trying to get rid of him for a third or fourth round pick. I mean, because I'm sure, as a situational pass rusher, some teams like the Rams, like these teams that are super talented, would like a guy like that. But for us, we don't need him just as a situational pass rusher. We need him as an every down edge. And I'm sure Sully and Hafley feel the same. So, I mean, like I said, past him, I mean, maybe Max Llewellyn as a 6th round pick comes along and, proves that he belongs. But, this edge group is probably one of the biggest holes on this roster. And, guys like Uche and Ajabo, I think they're kind of just here to fill the spots. But the whole exercise is about who's going to be here in 2 years, and I don't know if any of them will be.
Yeah. For those curious, in 27, Robinson has a cap number of $4,765,000, and he's a free agent in 28.
Yeah.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth, Chris. I mean, I'm looking at this, and I don't see any of these guys being on the roster a couple of years from now. Chop, just don't know. He, he's a pass rusher that doesn't get enough sacks, right? Doesn't warrant, playing time, so to speak. It's a guy that we need this year. Hopefully, in his third season, he understands that, that this is an important year for him, and he steps up his game, but, he doesn't play the run very well. That's a big deficiency. You got it. Yeah, I think this regime's going to want guys that are capable of getting the job done on, whether rushing the passer or playing the run. So part-time player as a number 1 draft pick with the salary, I'm not so sure that's going to work out for us. So yeah, this is a position that lacks any kind of stability whatsoever. So, it's something that's going to have to be addressed going forward. But for this season, we got to hope that Robinson picks it up.
Yep.
Yeah, and I will say, too, like I saw a video of him talking the other day. He looks like he put on some weight. And from what Halfley says, he's been working very hard, and a bunch of different things. So hopefully that translates into more sacks and him being a little bit better against the run. But as far as the type of guy he is, he seems like he's one of those lunch pail guys where, he's quiet and he just comes in and puts that work in. So hopefully we'll see the fruits of that labor this year.
It would be nice, right? First round pick. You hope he develops into somebody who you can keep around a while.
Mm-hmm.
But my concern with Chop has always been setting the edge. He's not great at setting the edge, and I'd like to see him improve there. Hopefully that is something he's working on and getting better at.
Yeah.
And as far as the rest of them, maybe Cameron Good. I don't know how much they like him. I know the old regime liked him a bit. I'm not really sure how these guys feel about him, as a developmental player.
Mm-hmm.
But there isn't a whole lot here. If you're going to pick somebody, maybe Llewellyn because of the fact they drafted him, but who knows?
Yeah.
All right, what we're going to do is we're going to take a step back for just a couple minutes, and we'll be right back. Nobody there we've seen play enough to really jump out and say they're going to keep him.
Yeah.
There may be some depth guys here, that they keep on the roster. Obviously you have to have backups. So, it's a possibility that somebody comes out of that group and, winds up sticking on the team a few years from now, but that's tough.
Yep. Let's see, at tackle, we'll just lump left and right tackle together.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Kenneth Grant, Zach Sealer, Jordan Phillips, Matthew Butler, Zeke Biggers, Alex Huntley, Keith Cooper Jr., and Khalil Sanders.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like this group a little bit more than I did, going in the last season. If you remember, we were like, wow, this kid Grant's really got to step up. But there's guys here that, I think can get the 4 Grant's same boat as Chop Robinson.
Yep.
He's got to step up his game. He's got to make plays. He's got to, he's got to be solid against the run.
He's a year younger.
Yeah.
In the scheme. So, and now they're changing the scheme. So I kind of give him a clean slate because of the scheme change and because of the fact that it's just going to be new for him. So I think that he's got some ability. He just doesn't flash enough. And, maybe in a one gap scheme, he'll flash more. So we'll see. This is a big year for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm not, I'm thinking that the guys around him are ahead of him. And ahead of him in a big way. And he's got to make a lot of steps forward in order to get any kind of playing time. But we'll see. Hopefully he steps his game up. Right now, I honestly think he's going to get the least amount of playing time out of those top 4 guys. I think Biggers and Phillips right now are ahead of him. That's my thought. But we'll see. Hopefully he steps it up.
Yep.
Yeah, as far as guys who are going to be here in 2 years, Zach Sealer is, I think, just turned 30. So at 32, I think that, actually, because we gave him an extension, so depending on the cap number and how he plays this season and next year, I think that's going to be big. But Zach's a guy that you love to have around. It's another guy who's a high character guy. He's produced on the field. He had a little bit of a setback last year, but
early.
Yeah, exactly. He came
on
a
late.
little bit towards the end, but he's one of the guys that I had when we talked about this a couple weeks ago as being like surprises as far as, you know, who people are kind of sleeping on. Aside from that, I kind of like what I've been seeing out of Jordan Phillips and Biggers more than Grant, like Lou said. But I can see all four of those guys being here in 2 years, whether it's as starters or rotational backups. But I mean, the one guy I'm high on more than any of these guys is Phillips. I mean, when
Me too.
When you look at videos of him throwing the sleds around and just how big of a dude he is, I mean, Halfley talked about, you know, when he gets there at 5 a.m. in the morning, Phillips is already in the weight room throwing weights around, and when he's leaving at the end of the night, Phillips is still there throwing weights around. And when just listening to Phillips talk about how he prepares and how, you know, he was saying how you do one thing is how you do everything. I mean, he's got all the right stuff. I mean, he's a freak human being physically, and, you know, if he can put it together on the football field, I think this is a guy who, you know, who can be a solid starter for us going forward. So I'm excited to see what he does this year.
Just to touch on Sealer for a second. He's got $16.7 million guaranteed this year. He's got no guaranteed money next year.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, he, just like we talked about Chop, you know, I mean, if we're getting closer to the trade deadline and, you know, the record's what we think it's going to be, you know, he may be another guy who they're looking to deal up to get more draft picks for this loaded 2027 draft. So, I mean, that's definitely something we're going to be keeping an eye on.
I think the key is, did he regress last year because of the rookies around him?
I think so.
Or did he regress last year because of age?
I mean, it may be a little bit of both. I know, didn't he deal with an injury last year, or was that the year before where he had that eye? Somebody poked him in the eye and, like, messed him up pretty bad or something, that he wears one of those
I remember the
now.
incident, but I don't remember what year it was. Do you, Lewis?
No, I don't. I think he was just playing at a bad level last year. I don't know if it had anything to do with injury. He was just making mistakes, you know, on the defensive side. You know, but I'll tell you what, the second half of the season, he really did play much, much better than he did early in the season.
He's a good player. I've got no problem with him.
Yeah.
He's a great guy.
He is.
Great individual, like Chris said, to have in the locker room. So,
weak side linebacker. Jordan Brooks, Jacob Rodriguez. That's a conversation in itself. Do they trade Jordan Brooks?
I love him. I really do, as a player, as a leader. But man, I mean, with how many guys we drafted, and you know, they seem to like these guys a lot. I mean, Brooks being 28 years old, he's not super long in the tooth, but he is starting to get to that age. But I mean, at this point, he's coming off a first team All-Pro season, you know, so it's going to be interesting. I mean, him being a Texas Tech guy, Jacob Rodriguez being a Texas Tech guy, you know, I mean, I think he can be a really good mentor for him and show him, you know, what to do, what not to do, and help his game. But man, I just, you know, with Rodriguez and Kyle Lewis, who I think is going to make a big impact, Trey Moore, who they drafted as a edge, but also plays, they have him more as a linebacker, especially on this depth chart. I mean, I just don't know, man. I really don't know. I mean, I'd like to keep him around, but also I think he deserves to get a nice payday, and I just don't know if we're going to be willing to do that, given the fact that, you know, we drafted his replacement pretty much this year.
Yeah.
It's
an interesting situation. Go ahead, Lou.
No, I mean, you know, at this point, you know, as we get closer and closer to training camp, you know, I think that their mindset right now is let's wait, let's see how these guys look, and then we'll make a decision. Let's see how he looks. The fact that he hasn't gotten traded yet, I think, gives him a better chance of being around. You know, the question becomes, you know, do you renegate? Because he's on the contract for this year, correct?
Yeah, I think this is the last year he has with guaranteed money.
Right. So, I mean, they don't have to do anything. I mean, technically. They don't. I mean, is Brooks going to play disgruntled if they don't? I don't know. I would think he'd be a professional and go out there.
Over the cap is up to date, there's no guaranteed money this year.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So, it's an interesting position. I mean, I feel that he should be rewarded, for some really good football. And I think that, he will still be productive a couple of years down the line. I wouldn't mind them signing him and keeping him around. You do need veterans. You absolutely need veterans. You can't just have a bunch of rookies out there. I mean, we've done it before. We did it back in the late 70s with an influx of, young defensive players. But, it'd be nice to have at least one veteran. I personally think that, if in fact they decide to keep him, that it's probably a smarter move than maybe a Sealer, only because Sealer's a little bit older in age and Brooks is still playing at a Pro Bowl level, at this point. So, it's a decision that they're going to have to make. And, this is the third guy out of the three that, that I wanted them to keep around for the next couple of years. And so far they've knocked two out. Let's hope that, Brooks gets that contract as well and they keep him.
Well, they've got time. They don't have to make a decision this camp.
That's what I was saying, right?
The trade deadline is in November. So if the rookies come along and you see that you can replace him, then maybe you do trade him later in the season.
Right. Yeah, I think that's basically what I stated. I mean, same exact thing. Yeah. I mean, there's really no reason to do anything at this point. If these young guys come along and they're playing at a very high level, then you can make your decision at that point. Say, hey, he's expendable. I mean, we can get by without him. These guys are really looking good in camp, and let's just try to get what we can for him. So they're going to do what's best for the team, period.
Of course. And that's the thing right there. He's going to want money because he doesn't have any guaranteed money coming to him, which means if he gets injured, then he's screwed next year.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, kind of like how that Connor Williams situation went a couple of years ago.
Exactly.
I think two teams that I'll be looking at to see if they try to make moves for him, and two teams that he's been linked to is the Cowboys and the Bengals. Both of those teams in win-now mode were kind of lacking that middle linebacker presence. And, I mean, if either of those two teams added Brooks to their defense, I mean, I think that he can make a significant impact. So those are two teams that I'm definitely going to be watching to see, how that play is, because they may end up trying to trade for him before the deadline if the first couple weeks either of those teams are just getting gashed in the run and, they can't. They're trying to win now, like I said. I mean, so we'll see.
Yeah, and they very well, under those circumstances, might get more value for him, by being patient with the situation. Yep. So we'll see.
Middle linebacker, Tyrell Dodson, Ronnie Harrison Jr., Jackson Woodard, and DJ Herman.
I think they're all as good as gone. Dotson is, he's a solid player, but again, like we just talked about with the other inside linebacker position, we just drafted so many guys.
Yeah.
Dotson at 27, going into a seventh season. If he wants to take a pay cut and be, kind of a backup rotational type of guy, I'm all for keeping him. But, he's going to be another guy who's going to be looking for a contract soon. And, these guys or this front office drafted Jacob Rodriguez. Like I said, even though it was late, they drafted Kyle Lewis. They drafted these guys with the intention of them, potentially being their inside guys. So, Dotson, I think, is going to be the odd man out. I mean, yeah, he's a year younger than Brooks, but, they have different skill sets. Dotson's the better coverage guy. Brooks is the better guy against the run and just overall inside linebacker. So, if we had to keep the two or one of the two, even though Brooks is going to cost a little bit more, I think Brooks is the guy to keep. I mean, looking at Rodney Harrison Jr., Jackson Woodward, DJ Herman, I don't think any of these guys are going to be on the team in 2 years, but,
Dodson's salary is $3,682,000.
Yeah, and he's only under contract for this year, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, so, I mean, he's a guy that we'll probably keep throughout the year. I mean, who knows? Maybe, a team's looking for a coverage middle linebacker at the deadline. He's another guy who could be gone at the deadline. And if they start wheeling and dealing right before the deadline, getting rid of Brooks, getting rid of Sealer, getting rid of Dotson, I'm not mad at it because, we've said this before, but I think the 2027 or after this season's off season is going to be huge, with the draft and with how much capital we're going to have. So, if we're setting everything up for this next offseason, and not just next offseason, but, the one after that too, I think, you're setting your guys up for success there.
Yep. At strong side linebacker, you've got Willie Gay Jr., you've got Trey Moore, you've got Kyle Lewis. So, you got the two youngsters there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're probably going to be here. And Willie Gay probably won't.
No.
Yeah.
You guys agree?
I agree with that. Yeah, absolutely. Right. Yeah. Let's move on to
cornerback. We've got Chris Johnson, Darrell Baker Jr., Jason Marshall Jr., and Ethan Bonner on the left side. And this is all subject to change, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
On the right side, Storm Duck, Juju Brents, Alex Austin, and A.J. Green III.
Chris Johnson. That's it. Maybe Jason Marshall will carve out a nice role for himself as a backup. I mean, we saw him play decent as a nickel, but, they've already came out and said that they don't really want him. They don't want to play him there. I think we're going to see Chris Johnson in the nickel. Even Kyle Lewis, they've talked about him potentially being nickel, even as a linebacker, a guy who was a former safety. But as far as guys being here in 2 years, I mean, Storm Duck, maybe if he bounces back. Juju Brents, who's had a pretty good camp so far, but, we always talk about him. The talent's there. The length is there. It's just the durability. So
him and Duck are both coming off injuries.
Yeah. But at least with Duck, I mean, I think that was like his first real injury. Brent's is just something new every single year. So,
yeah.
I mean, if he can stay healthy, I think he can carve out a role for himself and, maybe earn another contract at the end of this year. But, as far as the exercise, just, all I see is Chris Johnson. And like I said, maybe a Jason Marshall. Bonner's gotten some opportunities, but just, hasn't really done much with it. He's also been another guy who's been banged up over the course of the last couple of years. And, Alex Austin, AJ Green, I mean, who knows if they even make the team. So,
yeah, I'm on par with that. I mean, the guys with experience, listen, in the secondary, how many corners do you keep? I mean, we keep, 6 or 7? Right, on the roster, basically. Is that what we normally do, or is it less?
I think it's 5 or 6.
5 or 6. I mean,
maybe one on the practice squad.
Yeah, I mean, this is a position that, obviously, you need bodies. We talked about this last year and the amount of injuries that we had. So, I'm on the same page with you in regard to some of these guys just not being here, but. Look, we've seen it before. When we looked at this roster last year and we were like, man, our secondary is just pathetic. And then we had injury after injury. And lo and behold, here comes a guy like a Brents. People like that stepped up. So, among this group, who knows? I mean, Boner's been here. He's got some experience.
Why do you call him that? It's Bonner.
He, it's there's a possibility that he stuck around the last 2 years. So, there's a possibility, I mean, obviously they're seeing something in him. So, yeah, I mean, it's an important position, and a position that needs depth. So, it's hard to really predict, out of this group who's going to be here other than the couple of guys Chris mentioned.
Okay. Yeah, I pretty much agree with what you both said. I mean, Storm Duck, I figure he's probably not going to be here in 2 years. Juju Brents, it's like you said, if he can stay healthy, that's a big question mark for him.
Yeah.
Jason Marshall Jr., Ethan Bonner, they got to play well. Simple as that. If they do, then they've got a shot.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, we're going to break for a few moments, and we'll be right back. At safety, Dante Trader, Lewis Moore, Lonnie Johnson Jr., Zane Anderson, Michael Taff, and Omar Brown.
Dante Trader's a guy who's gotten a lot of praise over the offseason. You know, he's a second-year guy. He didn't get as much play time as I thought he would last year, especially given the fact that I thought Ashton Davis and Melifonwu were not very good at all last year, which is, I think, has part of the reason why neither of them are on a team up to this point.
Yeah.
I think he's somebody who can surprise us. Even though Lewis Moore plays the same position, he's an undrafted guy who played at a really high level on a national championship defense from Indiana.
I know the press are talking high of him.
Yeah, they are. I mean, he's been making plays so far in camp, and like I said, he's a guy that can maybe surprise us. I mean, I don't know how well he plays the free safety position, but, you know, I'd like to see maybe both of those, Trader and Moore, end up being our starters. Lonnie Johnson Jr., I mean, he's, you know, bounced around a little bit. He came out and said in one of his first pressers that he doesn't feel like he's gotten a fair shot so far in his career. So we'll see. You know, he's got hunger. We'll see if that translates to the field and see if he can carve out a starting position. Zane Anderson has just been more of a special teams guy. You know, if he's on the roster in 2 years, I think it'll be mainly because of that. I don't see him threatening either of these safety positions to become a starter. Michael Taff, I saw a picture of him. I mean, even though these guys aren't wearing pads or nothing, I mean, he is a little dude.
He is. He's small. I mean, people looks like a little wide receiver.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
And
he looks like a 12th grader.
But he's a player. He's a player.
Is. If you talk to anybody, whether it's in this Dolphins organization who has been around him thus far, you talk to any of his Texas coaches or even teammates, nothing but great things to say about him. So, you know, maybe he can defy the odds as being, you know, a smaller safety who can carve out a role for himself. But, you know, he's a free safety, and I think that this free safety position is open right now. So who knows, man? I mean, I think he'll probably be here in 2 years. But aside from that, you know, I'm pretty worried about this safety group as a whole. You know, I mean,
I think the Taff has a shot at free safety simply because you don't need to be the fastest and you don't need to be the tallest. You've got to have the instincts. And if he's got those, then he can probably develop into a good safety.
Yeah, and that's something he definitely does have. That's one thing that, you know, people have raved about are his instincts. You know, they said just exactly what you said, not the biggest guy, not the fastest guy, but, you know, he's always around the ball. He's got a pretty high football IQ, so, you know, we'll see. We'll see if it translates to the NFL.
He'll be here. He'll be here. I mean, you know, even if it's as a special teams player and as depth, he'll be here. I mean, past him, I'm not so sure about any of the other guys. But I think he'll be here simply because he's a football player. I mean, listen, this is the NFL now, you know, so when you do have shortcomings, you know, you can't hide them. It's simple as that. I mean, you got receivers on the field, and it's getting to a level to where the tight ends that are coming out, some of these tight ends are just, I mean, beyond ridiculous. I mean, size and speed-wise and their hands, McBride, you know, Bowers, guys like that. I mean,
Tyler Warren.
Yeah, I mean, they're fantastic athletes. I think personally they're the best athletes on the field. I say it all the time, the wide receiver position.
Oh yeah.
And now the tight ends are, you know, basically, you know, right behind them. So it's going to be difficult for him. You know, it's unfortunate. You know, he doesn't have that great speed, great height, but, you know, he is a football player, so I think he'll be here. But
you've got a guy like
tough.
Kyle Lewis that can cover the tight end.
Mike, you're talking about on specific, in specific situations. I mean, there's going to be times where on first down, maybe Kyle Lewis isn't on the field and they're throwing the football. So, I mean, that's all situational football. If you're putting him in as a starter, and they see, where he's at, they're going to target him. It's just that simple. They're going to pick on him. And, I just don't know if he's going to be able to be a starting type safety in the NFL. I think he's going to be a very solid football player for the team in certain aspects, but I just don't know if he's going to be capable of handling it on a play-to-play basis, as a starter. But we'll see.
I hear you, and I don't disagree with you, at least initially. I don't think he'll be a starter this year. I don't think he'll see a lot of playing time this year other than on special teams.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But we'll see.
So who's going to be our nickelback?
Man, that's an interesting question. I mean, I just talked about it a little bit earlier. Halfley's talked a lot about Chris Johnson being the nickelback. I said it a couple of weeks ago. I don't necessarily like that just because of the lack of depth on the outside past him. I mean, we don't want him on the inside when we're playing Jamar Chase and when we're playing Justin Jefferson and when we're playing Garrett Wilson and all the weapons that the Jets have now. But interesting enough, like we were talking about earlier, they've been talking about Kyle Lewis, even at the inside linebacker position, potentially being a nickel guy. Maybe even one of these safeties, Lewis Moore, if Dante Traders ends up being the starter, they move him to that nickel back. I mean, I really don't know what they're going to do at that nickel position right now.
I don't think anybody does.
Yeah, they have Marco Wilson and Ethan Robinson as our two nickel backs, which I don't have a lot of faith in either of those guys. I mean, Marshall. Wilson.
They don't have Marshall there?
No, which is interesting because, like I said earlier, I mean, that's primarily where he was played last year as a rookie. And I don't think he did a terrible job. I mean, he definitely gave up some plays, but, for him, that was a newer position because he played mostly outside on the perimeter or on the boundary as, when he played at Florida for the Gators. So, I don't know. I mean, maybe
they've got a whole training camp to mix these guys around and see who rises to the top.
Yeah, and maybe they end up seeing, like we don't have anybody at this position. So if Jason Marshall is going to be our third string, boundary corner, maybe it does suit them better to just put him at the nickel and let him play. But
yeah,
the defensive back group as a whole is just, I'm not feeling great about it. And, hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully a few of these guys step up.
You know what? If Juju Brents works out, that makes you feel a lot better.
Yeah.
You can patch some of these positions, but you need one of those cornerbacks to step up aside from Johnson.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens there. But I think that when you start talking about who's going to be back in 28, I mean, you obviously go with the youngsters.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Assuming they make the roster this year. Kicker. Who's going to win the kicker battle?
I mean, Patterson did a great job last year, but this regime brought in Zane Gonzalez, so maybe they feel better about him. I don't think we're going to win enough games to think that either of these guys are actually going to make a big difference. But given the fact that Patterson was pretty much automatic last year when Sanders went down, which we should talk about for a second, Sanders actually got released by the Giants, if I'm not mistaken. So,
did he really?
Yeah, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, but I think he was picked up by the Jets.
Was he?
I think so.
Wow, that's crazy. I didn't even realize. I didn't even see that.
But I'm pretty sure I read that.
But, yeah, I mean, it's not going to say it's a pointless position battle, but, I would tend to go with the guy we had last year that, did everything we asked of him for the most part, I mean, Zane Gonzalez, too, has bounced around a bunch, 31 years old. So,
Yeah. I mean, Patterson was fantastic last year. So, I mean, unless this guy comes in and just destroys it, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what their thought process was in regard to doing that. But, as far as I'm concerned, Patterson was above and beyond very good last year. Now, if the Zane Gonzalez has a better leg as far as distance-wise, on longer kicks, maybe that's why. And obviously, they'll save a little bit of money as well,
Yeah,
right?
and that's But looking at his stats from last year, Zane Gonzalez, I'm talking about from 40 to 49, he was 8 of 8. From 50 plus, he was 7 of 9.
Yeah,
so I think that's
good.
our that's our answer
That's
right
his
there.
advantage.
Yep, exactly. So
Patterson last year, 11 for 11 from 40 to 49, and 3 for 4 from 50 plus. So I mean, I don't
they're
think
pretty
you can
on
go
par,
wrong.
right?
Yeah, they are.
Like I said, I mean, they're just going to throw them both out there and see who wins the battle.
That's it.
I don't have. Listen, I'm a guy that. I watched Patterson kick last year, and he was very consistent. And you didn't see a lot of kicks, just bouncing off the uprights. And I mean, he was pretty solid through the middle on a lot of his kicks. So
27 to 29, only missed 2 kicks all year.
Yep. And extra
One of them
points,
was-
I think he was pretty strong on as well. Which is
And he signed the day after the Giants released him with the Jets.
Okay, yeah.
Sanders I'm talking about.
Yeah, Patterson missed 1 extra point last year. He was 34 35.
Gotcha. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think that I always like the guy that's done it, has been here, has been with the team. I hate switching kickers year in and year out. I just truly do. But whoever wins it, wins it.
Patterson's got the youth on his side too. He's 26 compared to Zane Gonzalez being 31. So
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
big difference there. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. We'll see who comes out on top. I mean, I kind of think it'll be Patterson too, but we'll see.
yeah.
I think that's about all we got today, guys, unless either one of you have something else.
Oh, pretty good.
We could talk about who we think is going to be the returner for this year. I mean, with Malik Washington, I think we all think that he's going to have more of an important role this year. Maybe they go with a guy like Kevin Coleman, who's electric in the return game, and that was one of his things in college and coming out of high school. They got Taj Washington on here, but
I don't think Taj makes the team.
Nah, I don't think so either, especially with him getting banged up in this training camp. I mean, if he's not able to, play the preseason or finish throughout the preseason healthy, I think he's as good as gone. So
I like Taj, but I think he's a little bit too small.
yeah, I agree.
Okay, so, I mean, as far as kickoff returner, I still think it's Malik Washington until somebody proves, otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, once Tyreek went down last year, Malik was doing both. He was playing on the majority of the snaps at the receiver position and returning kicks. And, nowadays, guys, I mean, with the new rules, the punts, they hang them or they kick them out of bounds, whatever. I mean, there's so few opportunities over the course of a game. And let's just hope that Malik's not going to get a lot of opportunities, with kickoffs return. Kickoff return, because that means teams are scoring a lot of points on us. That's my point. We don't want to see him returning 8, having 8 opportunities a game to return kicks. So, you're talking about a minuscule amount, whether it be punts or kicks, and I'm sure they'll have a couple guys back there. So the other thing is the directional kickoffs. Yeah,
You need a couple of guys.
We'll see what happens.
Yep. All right. Thanks for joining me, guys.
Welcome.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back next week. And until then, fins up.
Fins up.
Fins up, Dolphins.
And that's the end of another show. I want to thank the Believe Network for allowing us to join them this year, and the Dolphins Talk Network, who we've been a part of for many years. I want to thank both of these outfits. They're exceptional people, and we're proud and honored just to be a part of it. Until next time, take care.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.